And welcome to Sports Chat here on KTN News, your favorite sports show every Monday, a show that talks about news making the headlines across the world and also locally, and it also delves into the burning issues, especially local matters. But as usual, we start with the news that are making the headlines in the Confederation Cup, where Gormahia were held 1-1 by daring club Motema Pembe of the Democratic Republic of Congo in the CAF Confederation Cup after a dramatic clash of two former winners of the African competitions. Gormahia took the lead in the 63rd minute via Ivorian forward Nyame Yikpe, but a defensive lapse from the Gormahia backline saw William Luezi level the scores after tapping in a rebound from a free kick. The Kenyan champions finished the match with 10 men after Charles Momanyi was sent off for holding a goal-bound ball. Kogalo will head to Kinshasa, needing a win to advance to the group stages.
It was very difficult for us to start the match, and then smallly we come in the match, we have the ball, because our game is having the ball. So the second part of the game, it was better for us. We were stupid for 1, 2, 3 minutes, and we take a goal.
It's upsetting to see how much the effort that the players have put in, and the desire and the passion, and the way we played some good football today, and I'm happy on that. But 1-1, it's not an happy feeling, but still the door is still open, and by God's grace we'll get the goal that we need next week.
In Guinea, Conakry, veteran Aristide Banse scored a hat-trick as Horoya beat Bandari 4-2, also in the first leg of the CAF Confederation Cup playoffs. Horoya were ahead within a minute of the kickoff and scored a second goal before Bandari fought back to level at 2-2 by halftime. William Wadri and Yema Mwana scored for Bandari. The return leg will be played on Sunday in Nairobi. The same day, Gormahia will be taking on DC Motema Pembe in Kinshasa. And in studio, just to tell us what they made of those two results. At my extreme left, Seth Onserio, veteran radio, will I say veteran radio presenter, sports journalist too. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes, I remember this is your former home.
Yeah.
Feel welcome.
And it is.
Okay. And we have Gregory Mulemi, another seasoned journalist, also coming over to talk to us about these two results and many other things to come. Milton Nyakundi, another seasoned journalist. These guys bring you all the news that you want to know about the sports matters, especially in this country and across the borders. Guys, karibuni sana. I'll start with you, Seth. Gormahia held 1-1 by DC Motema Pembe, and Bandari beaten 4-2 away in Conakry. Your quick thoughts. Is it over for the Kenyan clubs in the African competitions?
Gormahia are not learning. Against USM Alger, they lost 2-0 at home. Yeah. Actually, Kenneth Muguna said that they have learned from the defeat. Unfortunately, it was not the case, and we saw yesterday. Bandari against Horoya, I strongly believe that still Bandari stand a chance. At home, if they win, they get 2 goals, I think they'll be good to go. And I'm very sure that Bernard Mwalala knows exactly what he will do in order to ensure that his charges grant the results needed.
Interesting. He thinks that Gormahia doesn't learn from lessons, but it's a 1-1. They can still score in DRC and progress.
They can still score, but then you look at how the match ended. They almost conceded a second goal via penalty. It just shows you that this season Gormahia is not the Gormahia we've known, because at home they're not convincing. They're just trying to get those results. In the league, they versus Kariobangi Sharks, they scored in the last minute. That shows you that there's something amiss with this Gormahia side compared to the Gormahia side that we've known.
Yes.
The Gormahia sides that were brushing sides apart, making sure that they tear teams apart and getting those results. Right now we have a Gormahia team that is struggling, really looking at means of getting points. And look at Motema Pembe, they are former African champions, and when they've never lost in Nairobi, but the last time they were here, they beat Tusker to beat that was it the Mandela Cup?
Yes, Mandela.
Yes, right now they came back.
Cup, actually.
Yeah, they came back, had a mission, they got their away goal they needed, and now it's upon Gormahia. I don't know if they'll win in Congo, because that's a hostile territory.
Bandari
for me, 4-2. And you see the person who scored,
Aristide Banse.
It
Very
just shows you
experienced
that
guy.
maybe it was the physique that beat the Bandari side. And
Actually, the first goal was a powerful header. It was towering.
and
over
we all
him.
know what Barnes is all about. So it's about shutting him down. But then, where will the goals come from? But the advantage Bandari have, at least in this competition, they've been scoring away from home. And
Yes.
that gives us hope that maybe at Kasarani, when they play Horoya, they'll be getting something positive out of the game.
What did you make of that, Milton?
Well, I think for me, Gormahia are suffering because they were too good. They have not had competition for the last few years in as far as local football is concerned. And they got to that comfort zone, and now they're finally being told to wake up and smell the coffee. In my honest opinion, and I'm not being disrespectful, I have a lot of respect for Gormahia and Kogalau as it were, but I honestly don't see them beyond this stage. It will be very difficult for them to score 2 goals. They would need a draw of more than 1 goal for them to advance, and I don't see how that is going to happen. For Bandari, I believe they have a chance scoring 2 goals away with Bernard Mwalala in charge, and it's very encouraging to see that Wadri was on the score sheet. And again, talking about Barnes, I mean, Barnes is a beast of a player, and perhaps if they find a way to stop him here in Nairobi, which I honestly believe they will, I see Bandari making it past this stage.
There's always that chance. Football is always, unpredictable. Bandari will be facing Horoya of Guinea on Sunday. Make sure that you find your way to Kasarani to support the local boys. Now, the news coming in, just coming in, is that Tiger Woods has won the Zozo Championship in Japan, and he has equaled Sneyd's record of 82 PGA titles. That championship coming very early this morning, and it wasn't exactly smooth sailing for Woods, but in the end, closing the with the 3 under par 7, enough to hold off a challenge from Hideki Matsuyama at the Narushina Country Club in Japan. Now, Woods coming back after surgery about 2 months ago, and he's looking like he was never away. We know all those scandals that really almost ended his career, but getting the information that he's just won another title, this legend of Woods is really growing.
Tiger Woods would be just one. Coming back at the US Open, everybody expected that after that monstrous comeback, he would do well with the US Open. He disappointed, but here he is again. He is doing well. 82 PGA titles to his name. I think he's a legend, and I'm one believer in the fact that sometimes we are too harsh on these sportsmen and women because perhaps of how we see them on TV every other time. But let men be men. Tiger Woods is just a man like all of us, and what he does on the football on the golf course
is the most important
should
thing.
interest us most, because that is what we do. We write about sports and we talk about sports. Everything else on the sidelines, I think, let us not be
all the best
about side shows.
All the best for Tiger Woods, because he's phenomenal. Just winning that after coming off a serious knee injury, which everyone thought maybe it will take him out of the game. And the fact also that he had a back surgery at some point, but now the boy is coming back and he's saying that he wishes he can play on up to the ripe age of 52, just to make a statement. But now let's move to our point of discussion today. Taxpayers are facing a 163 million bill to pay 2 coaches after Football Kenya Federation lost cases lodged by former Harambee Stars tacticians Adel Amrouche and Bobby Williamson. On October 3rd, the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne, Switzerland, ordered Kenya to pay Belgian Amrouche 108 million shillings, failing which Harambee Stars will be booted out of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. And last week, the Sports Dispute Tribunal ordered FKF to pay Scotland's Bobby Williamson 55 million shillings, whereas FKF have said they'll appeal the tribunal's decision to award Williamson the 55 million shillings. They must pay Adil Amrouche 108 million shillings after they lost their appeal. Question is, where does the cash-strapped FKF go from here? That is the subject of our discussion, gentlemen. We all know FKF has been on the mend. They've done all they could. We've seen how they have organized the federation to the point where Harambee Stars qualified for the African Cup of Nations. Well, the results were not very, very encouraging at that. But now the bombshell, we have to pay 108 million shillings to Adele. We fail, we are out of the World Cup qualifiers. Seth?
Okay, actually, being out of the World Cup qualifiers does not so much concern me. Why? Because we have not been performing well in the qualifiers. So that is just being given, it's just like being given time for us to restructure. But now coming to the real issue. First of all, starting with the Williamson issue of being first fired. So, you see, when Team Change took office, one of the things they could have done, first of all, is try to look at the contract, Bobby Williams' contract. And then when they brought in Okumbi, it seemed they were so fast in trying to implement, to bring in people they thought will help them. And by doing that, they forgot to look at the one who was advising, actually.
Yes.
Team Change, actually, was sleeping on the job, because he could have taken his time, he could have looked at what Bobby Williamson had with the initial regime, what was signed, and then by doing that, maybe they could have found an amicable solution. They did not do that, and then Williamson had to go to court, and we see what is happening. The 55 million fine was coming. The Adele Amrouche thing, it's kind of...
That is a case closed. They have to pay. That,
yes.
They are saying they can appeal the 55, again it's awarded to Bobby, but 108 they have to pay.
Exactly. But now I think instead of the current regime, current officer going from here to there, trying to say, oh, it is not our fault, this has happened, I think now they should try to find ways in which they can get back the money. I know maybe they can talk with FIFA and see how they can get the cash from them.
Talk with FIFA, of course, we know there's another issue altogether of the OB van, which FIFA funded to the tune of 135 million shillings. They paid 125. That van has not been delivered. Now, Seth is saying they should talk with FIFA to get more money. I don't know, but...
If I give you a coin and you tell me that you're going to do ABCD, you don't do it, then come ask for another coin. I'll always ask you, first of all, where's the last coin? Or how did you use it? Something like that. It's the same situation you're having here. You know, the problem we have when Team Change came into power, I think they had this problem of just trying to wipe up everything that was in the previous regime,
yes,
without looking at the pros and cons of everything. And it's
especially the contract, like
yes,
Seth is talking about.
The president is on record saying that Bobby Williamson
we have
had
so many
a lifetime contract.
We have so many presidents in this country. Which president are you talking about?
Of course, I'm talking about the FKF president, Nick Mwendwa.
Yes.
He said that Bobby Williamson had a very open contract. It had no a release clause or something like that. So he has all the rights to demand for the 55 million. But then the question is, we are solving cases that have been there. We knew that these things were going to be there. I think it was the best. It would have been best for the federation to talk to these guys before this escalated, because you'll find out right now they have to pay this money by March. Failure to which, when the World Cup qualifiers come in, then Kenya will not be
Initially, it was 19th October,
19th
but
October, yeah.
I think
There's
FKF asked for an extension.
Yes, an extension. But then
where will they get the 108? Where do you see it?
Maybe they start a pay bill number, because I don't think FKF is...
No, the Kenyans, the taxpayers, because Harambee Stars is
we
our
still have
property.
questions about the money that was used in the Africa Cup of Nations campaign, because the 240 million was supposed to run the team throughout the entire tournament. The FKF president will always say that they gave the team the best of preparations ahead of the tournament, but we played only 3 matches, lost 2 and won 1. It's something that really Kenyans need to ask questions, because if you give me, let's say, 50,000 shillings, you tell me this will run you for the entire 4 days that you'll stay in Mombasa, then
yes,
I come back after 2 days, you'll ask me, okay, where's the accountability of the 3 days remaining? That's the same case I think is Kenyans will be asking, and for them being slapped 153 million, 63. Yeah. I think it's harsh because it's like we're taking two steps backwards and then 1 step in front. We are not moving anywhere.
Those steps, Milton. I'm a firm believer that FKF was on the mend. They were actually, improving on some of the gains that we've had since 2011 when FIFA normalized the situation here. But now FKF finds itself in a hole, 163 million.
First of all, I must declare interest that I never supported Team Change when they were coming into office, and I am on record as saying that Nick Mwendwa was not the right candidate for the job. And having said that, so that it is on record, I want to say that it is a sad situation to be in, that we are talking about FKF that is cash strapped. I do not believe they should be. I think there has been a lot of mismanagement in terms of fiscal discipline at Kananda House, and Nick Mwendwa must take the blame for that. He needs to come out and be accountable. Now, talking about Adel Amrouche and Bobby Williamson, I think we all know that when Adel Amrouche was suspended by CAF for that incident, I think it was in Comoros.
Comoros, yes.
Then the previous administration took a decision because the team could not be without a coach. And the former president is on record as saying that they had to get Bobby Williamson to step in. And he would be bailed out, that is Sam Nyamoya, because when Adele's served the entire suspension, there is a letter that was done to government. I remember in the handing over notes that Nick Mwendwa was told that Adele's case needs to be handled. He said
actually,
he has
CAF,
served.
I think, lifted the whole thing. He won the
After
case
8
at
months.
CAF, yes.
And, the former administration said we have no reason not to get him back, and they recommended. They wrote a letter that is with the Ministry of Sports and said he needs to come back, Bobby Williamson. They engaged him, and Bobby said as long as he's paid what was outstanding to him, he didn't have a problem leaving the position for Adele to resume his job. And therefore, it is mischievous of Nick Mwendwa's administration to come and say that they want to blame the previous office, because I think that has been their favorite statement, that every time something is going wrong, they are finding a way of saying, our football was in shambles, we have tried to put things in order. I don't think that you can live on anybody's shadow just because they made their mistakes.
So,
for so long. Nick Mwendwa must own up that he has made mistakes. He has taken our football to the dogs. It is worse off than it was when he took over in 2016.
We'll have
and he
a
has
chance.
to take
We'll have a chance maybe to have that conversation with him. But on the overall picture, Seth, is FKF or is Kenya now paying for its sin of mistreating coaches? You hire a coach, then you fire a coach, and procedurally. Now they are faced with 103 million to pay.
Now, the problem, maybe, if I can just explain what Nyakundi said, if I can just include that. You see, when Nick Mwendwa took office, actually, he promised a lot. There was so much on the table.
And promise,
yes,
of course.
But actually, you promise what you know you can deliver. And as he said, one thing. First of all, Adel Amrouche, not that he was sacked by the FKF. It was just a situation that he was caught in.
By CAF.
Exactly. And actually, after serving the suspension, the best, it's like what they did, FKF did when Sebastian Minye failed to deliver. They just sat with the coach and found an amicable solution.
Yes.
And that is exactly what they could have done with Adele. Yes, Adele, we might not need you, but let us do A, B, C, D. Instead of just them coming later on to blame Nyamoya, as Nyakundi has put it. Number two, same case with Bobby Williamson. It is something which could have been handled better. Because remember, when Adel Amrouche was not in charge of the Harambee Stars, FKF had to do something. Harambee Stars could not be without a coach, and that is where Bobby Williamson came in. And maybe if I just comment on something that Greg said about the Obi van kindly. You see, with the Obi van, first, we all know that producing matches actually is very expensive. It is not an easy affair. We all know that. And again...
But it was a decision made by
yes,
the
it was
AGM.
a decision.
Yeah, so you cannot blame them for that.
But again, who advised them? Where did they know? Okay, where could they get? We know that sponsors are not easy to come by. They did not have someone who was ready to come and sponsor and try that and try to ensure that this production actually is consistent. And then number two, you're coming in. Yes, you bring the Obi-Van. If you really wanted this project to be successful, why not go and try and find something that is brand new? Why should you go for something that has already been used? Because you cannot tell me if FIFA really approved this. If they really wanted the Obi-Van and they were ready to provide the funds, go for something new, start all over. Don't go for something that someone like a second-hand thing. Because
people,
you cannot tell me that SuperSport were really, you cannot tell me SuperSport needed that one, because if they really needed it, they could not have given it that easily. So definitely there was something wrong somewhere, and that is why they wanted to go with it.
Out. Yes. If you are joining us, we are talking about FKF that has been ordered to pay 108 million shillings to former Harambee Stars coach De Lamroche. He claims he was unprocedurally fired, and he won a case. First of all, in Switzerland, that was Lausanne. He was awarded 60 million shillings. FKF appealed, but they lost that appeal, and the money was doubled to 108 million shillings. Now they have to pay that. Failure to which Kenya will be excluded from the World Cup qualifiers, the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. Greg, if we fail to pay the 108 million shillings, we are out of the qualifiers.
We are out of the qualifiers.
Do you think we should risk not pay and skip the 2022 rounds of qualifiers?
If you looked at our previous, I think if you look at the current national team, it's not the best we've had in many years. That's a fact. And then we still have a long way to go. If we have a dream of qualifying for the World Cup, I think we should focus on the next World Cup after Qatar, because recently we covered the Kenya versus Mozambique match. We also the kind of squad we have around. Everyone will blame Victor. But you know the problem is not Victor.
It means what he's trying to say is that we really don't have a squad.
We don't have a squad
that can prosecute the 2022 World Cup.
You look at I was watching last night the Under-17 World Cup. I think that's where we should be focusing, making sure that our juniors qualify for these continental tournaments, the World Cup Under-17, the one that is taking place in Brazil. If Kenya was being represented there, then I could have hoped maybe in Qatar we'll have a squad, because maybe 2 or 3 players would come from the youth transfer.
What Gregory is saying is stopping short of saying we really don't have to participate in this World Cup.
Yeah, let's sit back. Look,
that is too expensive, because that could even affect our 2026 if we are to
let it affect us, let us put the structures right. Our league is in shambles. That's a fact. FC Leopards trains for 9 days and then honors a match. Gormahia preparing for a continental tie without proper training. Josh Onyango and Muguna decide to stay away from a KPL match versus Kariobangi Sharks just because one doesn't have fare and another one is owed money.
It's a serious stuff. Now, Milton, you have 108, we have 55, that's 163, and FKF has an election because they have to conduct an election on December 12th. And FIFA always funds that election. Now, this could run into over 200 million shillings that FKF needs. Can that be done?
I have an idea of how FIFA operates, and I have an idea of how football functions work. And I honestly believe that, again, under Nick Mwendo's leadership, we are getting into a hole, digging a hole to fill another hole. Kind of situation, and unfortunately, I think what Gregory is saying and what Seth is saying is the bitter truth that Unless we are brutally honest with ourselves.
You are painting a very bleak picture.
I mean, that is the reality of things. And unless we are brutally honest and pragmatic in prosecuting where we are as a country in terms of football, we will not get out of it. So as it is, what would we be playing the World Cup qualifiers for?
Yeah.
I mean, look at how we qualified for AFCON. Let us be honest. If Sierra Leone were in the mix, the story would have been different.
They beat us away.
You know, they beat us away. They would probably have beaten us. We lost to Guinea-Bissau and Ukumbi and Nick Mwendwa, home and away. So Sierra Leone was going to be another deja vu of sorts, if you like. In terms of the money that we're talking about, I do not understand why Nick Mwendwa got us into this, number one. Number two, we are having a federation that is better funded in terms of the FIFA Financial Assistance Program because now they're getting about $1.5 million as opposed to previously when it was just 250,000. You have a FIFA that approves...
Which means, as you wind up, which means, therefore, that they are liquid enough. They should have the money.
My point is they are liquid enough, got 240 million from the government.
But Barry said they're broke.
No. They are broke because of mismanagement. And I ask myself, what was the wisdom in getting an OB van for 135 million that FIFA has approved when you're struggling with finances? That money, as a FIFA project, I would have used it differently. An OB van is not a priority for FKF because how many international matches do you have in a year for you to require such an investment? They would have invested in setting up a media center for about 50-60 million shillings, and the balance of the money you can use it elsewhere. And that is what I'm saying. The fiscal discipline at FKF has been lacking for the last 3.5 years.
Which should be scrutinized as we go into that election.
Let us be honest. The elections. Because you asked me about it, the elections is a sham. The registrar has written and raised very weighty matters that speak to, paragraph 20 of the registrar's rules and regulations, that speaks to the FIFA Standard Electoral Code, and speaks to Article 59 or 69 of the FKF statutes. So, I mean, we are in a hole, and honestly... Somebody has got to pump sense into our mind and Nick Mwendwa's mind so that we get this sorted out. Otherwise,
final comment.
I think the backstop starts with us. I think we all need to make sure that we do the right things. First of all, let's organize the football from the grassroots.
Okay. Final comment, just in 10 seconds.
The current Team Blue has failed Kenyans. That's to be honest. Whatever they promised is not what has been delivered. And instead of just them just blaming the
previous regime,
yes, the previous regime, let them find the solution. And finally, regarding the elections, if you are confident that you've done enough, you don't lock out your competitors.
That's what the call from the scribes is, that we are in a difficult situation, but then we look forward to the people with sense to make us, get out of that problem. We've been discussing about FKF's woes and the taxpayer required to pay 163 million to former Harambee Stars coaches. I've been your presenter, Robin Toskin, and until next Monday, please keep it KTN News.